Welcome to Screen Bytes, a podcast about gaming, technology, TV and movies. In this episode we discuss Spirited Away, the movie and the theatre production in London.
So, Josh, you managed to watch Spirited Away. What did you think?
It was alright, nothing to write home about.
Get out, man. You can't be serious. You can't be serious. Seriously? You think it was like...
No.
Oh, come on. No way, man. No way. I knew you were going to do this to me. Like, was it...
I'm just winding you up. It was a good film.
Yeah.
It was a good film.
Yeah. Is it better than...
I'm not going to say it was a great film, but it was a good film.
I think it's amazing. Is it better than Howl's Moving Castle? That's the question.
It's very similar. In fact, I don't want to say this, but it's almost the same story. Like, it's
not.
Kind of is.
It's not. It's...
Well, no, I mean, I know the detail is very different, but, there is something very similar about them.
Well, go on, Anne. What do you think that's similar to the two films? Because I think they're very different films.
I just mean they've got some similarities in the fact that, say, the main male character shapeshifts and turns into a flying beast of some kind.
Yeah, okay, I get... Yeah, in simple terms. I mean, like, try and like expand and like
obviously the detail of the story and everything is completely different, but there's actually some broad strokes that are very similar. So yeah, and obviously there's going to be some similarities. It's the same guy.
Well, it's based off like two different source material. It's not like he made it up. He based it off. I don't think Spirited Away is based off anything, but I know Howl's Moving Castle was based off a book.
Right. Okay.
So yeah. Well, I would say, like, the sense of dread you feel when watching Spirited Away, did you not feel after, like, 30 minutes where... So we have Chihiro and her family are going to their new house, and on the way, the dad is like, oh, I wonder what that is. Let's take this little shortcut to get there quicker. And he goes, steams ahead, and they end up in some sort of, like, big open... hillside, and they think it's some sort of like old theme park that's been abandoned.
Yeah. And
then they come across some food.
My presumption is that building that they've walked through is some kind of portal.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Because it seems, obviously, they've come from, not city, but Japanese suburb type area. They've gone through a hill, and they've come to this sort of outside area that could be in the middle of the countryside with these sort of like a lot more traditional buildings than what we've just seen on the other side. So, the presumption is that they've gone through a portal, which the parents haven't realised. He thinks it's just an amusement park or something. So,
and they come across the food. They smell the food and are like, let's start.
Mm-hmm.
But Chihiro's like, we should get out of here. Let's get out of here. We shouldn't be here. But they're like, relax, we'll pay. I've got credit cards, I've got cash. There's no need to worry. And then she's like, okay, you do that. I'm gonna... She starts walking around. And then she comes across the train. And eventually a man comes up to her and says, you shouldn't be here. You have to leave now. Get across the river. And she's like, what? What are you talking about? Go now, before it's too late. They're opening they're opening the lights or the lamps or something, and then she runs off, and she comes and sees her parents have turned into pigs, and you're like, what? And then she's kind of freaking out because now she's tried to run back where she's just come from, and it's now a river, and she can't get to where she needs to get to, and then she sees that there's like these spirit ghosts walking around coming off the boats. But then I think that the true gem of this film is the scare factor of when Hakaku, the dragon boy, basically comes up to her and says, don't worry. So she's very frightened at this point because she's just seen her parents turn into pigs. And he's like, don't worry, you need to make sure you eat this. You got to eat some food, otherwise you're gonna evaporate, like you're gonna go invisible. She's see-through. And she eats the food, and then he's telling her what she needs to do, and he's basically comforting her and saying, okay, don't worry about this, you're going to be fine, you need to do this, otherwise you won't be able to get out of here, and your parents they'll never turn back into normal. They will always be pigs. But once you get through all of that, and she also has to ask for a job, doesn't she? I know that's going ahead, but she has to ask for a job from your baba, sorry.
Well,
And,
she's he sends her first to Yachika.
Kachami. I mean, like Kachami, something. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
The boiler man.
And he's the boiler man. Yeah. I don't want to go like through the whole story. Like just talk. What I'm trying to get to is the part where, basically, she's like, she goes to I forgot her name. I think her name's Lee or Lin, and she says, because Yokaku. She just signs a contract, and they make her change. Your baba makes her change her name to Sen instead of Chihiro, and Yukaku comes and says, "Okay, who is this?" "Oh, my name is and then she's like, "Oh no, it's Sen." She's like, "Okay, follow me, Sen." And then they're in the lift, and he goes. She tries to talk to him, and he says, "Don't talk to me, and call me Master Yukaku." And at that point, I was terrified for Chihiro, absolutely terrified, because here's a person she's put her whole confidence in this one person, and now the guy is acting like a complete stranger, like a totally different person.
I was going to say, both Haku and Lin, they do the same thing, where in certain circumstances they are incredibly formal, and they want Chihiro / Sen to talk to them in a very specific way, or not at all. So Lin is very confrontational, and she's like, "Oh, I can't believe you're doing this to me. Oh, you better make this up to me later." That kind of stuff. So she's very she's trying to put on this very confident exterior. And Haku, similarly, he's this apprentice of Yababu. So when they're around Yababa,
Yeah.
when they're around in the bathhouse, whatever, he's very formal. He's like, "Nope, don't say anything." But when they're like with Lin, when they were when she took Sen to the bed, where they sleep, at that point she dropped all her formalities, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you. I can't believe you managed to get a job here. Like, I can't believe you did it." And Haku is very similar. So in certain circumstances, they're like, "Yeah, we're like super friendly people." But when they're around Yubaba and, the frogs and the other workers, they seem to be putting on this very strict outer appearance.
Yeah. It's only until...
I guess they fear for their own... if they're too friendly, they fear for repercussions on themselves, maybe. Like, they're going to get punished for doing something.
Yeah, and she's a human. And it's like she's kind of frowned upon.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, I have to work with this person. Why are you making me do this? Why are you making me work with this human?" But it's only until basically Yokaku says, "Meet me at the pig station, and you can see your mum and dad. We'll come and see your mum and dad." And then he gives her the rice cakes and says, and at that point you actually know that actually he is a good guy. Where before it was, it was definitely a little bit grey, and I was, watching the story like, oh god, now she's been put in a situation where she's just basically been sucked in. Potentially, he could have just kept on being an asshole, and that was just all like a play that he was doing before. Like, "Oh, don't worry, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm here to help you. Don't worry." But thankfully, he is a nice person. Like you said, he was just putting that on because it was in the presence of other people where he kind of had to. I suppose the other things to talk about are what did you think to the story of her having to work in a bathhouse? Especially the scene. Did you enjoy the scene where she had to work to clean up that spirit that came in?
Yeah, it's...
Did you not find that fun? Especially when she had to trick... so she had to get those those little token things from the Master Bath guy, and No Face, this spirit called No Face turns up, and for some reason he's taken a liking to Chihiro. But that's kind of because he was out in the rain, and she left the door open for him and said, "Please come inside, help yourself." And she was kind of being nice, but then in turn, now he's like being really nice to her. But then,
So my reading on that is that he gave her the first initial token, and he seems to be able to make things. So I'm guessing when he came by later on with that basket full of them, he had actually maybe created them in the same way he created the gold later on. And those aren't real tokens; they're kind of made out of the dirt that he's kind of made of. So I mean, yeah, that whole scene, yeah, it was quite good. And just looking back at the synopsis and like seeing how, because obviously that was the spirit of a river that I guess exists in the human world, and it's trying to like it's wondering, like, on one hand it's like, yeah, she's pulled out a bicycle and all the stuff that came out with it, the dirt and the pollution of that river. Did she just clean up a river in the real human world, or is this just a nice day for the spirit dragon to just enjoy some cleanliness before he goes back to the human world again and gets all repolluted again or something? But the whole scene where Yubaba was basically trying to get her to fail and get everyone to maybe laugh at her and humiliate her or whatever. But the fact that she actually managed to power through, like, she might be a scared little girl, but she had quite a lot of resolution in her to do things and try and, her customer service was different, but, quite good.
Yeah, she probably just after the point in which she sees her parents, she realizes she needs to dig down and start working hard and trying to earn their kind of respect. But then, I suppose, just after that, the key point of the film is that Yukaku gets injured by these like bits of paper airplane things, and Yubaba's just like, throw him away, just get rid of him. You don't need him. Throw him away now. Kill him. And thankfully, Chihiro manages to she grabs hold of him and they end up going down one of the lifts, and she manages to care for him, and she talks to the boiler man that she needs to get some sort of she needs to return. So basically, he stole like this I don't know what it's called, like a sphere or something. It's some sort of
a golden seal.
Yeah, and she needs to return it to her Yobabu's sister, and then we get No Face is basically come inside the boiler, the bathhouse, demanding that he wants Sen. He must have Sen, and it's because he's throwing around gold everywhere. They're doing everything that he's telling them.
Yeah, filling him up with food. He inhaled that frog, and obviously at first it did look like he had eaten the frog, but he had, like, I guess he was using the frog's like voice and body to kind of talk.
That's right. Yeah. That was quite.
So
funny.
It wasn't. So obviously, when later those bodies kind of get thrown up again, it wasn't too surprising actually. That was a very disgusting spirit, even more so than the polluted river spirit that had come in the previous scene.
I think he was just misunderstood, because we see later on he kind of redeems himself. Like, he's just a spirit that just wants to have friends, I suppose, because she treated him nicely in the beginning.
Yeah, a very lonely spirit. I think that's what he said. He's very lonely.
He's like, shy, maybe. Oh yeah, I think at one point he like froze up or something. He's like walking down these steps. He's like, he's like, excuse me. It's quite funny. I always remember that in the film. But what did you think? Like, a lot of people love the scene in which the train scene.
Oh, what, through the water?
Through the water, and they're just sitting there on the train for good. And then there's people getting on and off.
Because I was wondering about that, how that was going to be playing out, because they were saying it's like 6 stops away, and it's like, is that going to be like 2 minutes on the train, or are they going to be an all-day sort of train? And then obviously, yeah, they do arrive. You see them go to a couple of stops as people get on and off, and it's all semi-flooded, but the train can still get through. And then they eventually arrive late at night at the twin sisters' sort of cottage. And it's quite funny because you think she's like the big evil twin sister, but she's actually the good one of the two of them, quite humble, and she's had something stolen she wants back, and actually is very helpful. So there was, I think there was, so obviously No Face is obviously one of the iconic images from Spirited Away. And I think the train scene and one of the bits in the bathhouse, they're like the iconic, not the iconic, but they're like the main pictures I'd have seen in the past, like used as maybe the DVD cover, that kind of stuff. So there was a couple of points where like, oh, I've seen that before, or if it's used in memes or something like that. So
it's just like, it's one of those things where you kind of take away your own beliefs from that scene. Like, you could watch it and you're like, oh, they're just sitting on the train, but then you get some emotions in your head. A lot of people get a lot of quite emotional watching that scene, just them sitting on the train and watching people come on and off the train. But it doesn't sound like you had any emotions from it. What did you think?
Well, I mean, okay, no, I didn't have any emotions, and I get there's a bit.
You didn't have any did you have any emotions
Beats...
from the film? Did you wince up at any point?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think the one that always gets me is when Hakaku eventually he catches up with Chihiro at the sister's, Yubaba's sister's cottage, and then she gets on his back and they ride off, and then she tells him, I know your name, I fell in the river, and the river was called the Yokaku River. And then he turns into...
she had that flashback. Cause I remember that. She had this flashback where she was like underwater all of a sudden, and that's the second time you see it. They show it earlier in the film. It's like, this doesn't make sense because they're not underwater at the moment. They're flying in the air, but actually it's she's remembering the memory, or one of the memories that she's supposed to be remembering. But yeah.
Did you not get any emotion? Man, I was like, oh. I thought it was really good. Like, you're just like, oh, they're in the air together, and that song. Yeah,
it was a very nice piece of music. You know,
did you watch it with your wife, or you watched it?
No,
you didn't watch it.
She was reading.
She might enjoy it more, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But basically, she has a little quiz at the end. Chihiro.
Yeah, little test.
And she says, your Baba's like, if you can guess which one of your parents are the pigs here, then you can go. Your contract is ripped up, you can go. And she looks at the pigs and she's like, none of these are my mum and dad. And then are you sure? Mm-hmm, yep. And then the contract gets ripped up and they all start celebrating, and you're like, oh, this is, this is great. And then basically Yokaku is saying, oh, you must go now, your parents are waiting for you. Don't look back. Please don't look back. And that's pretty much it. She goes through the little transport tunnel and she doesn't look back.
She tried to. She almost did right at the end.
Yeah, nearly.
But then she didn't.
So I suppose so you enjoyed the film.
I did enjoy the film, yes.
So you watched the film. I've watched the film many, many times over the last 4 or 5 years. Over the weekend, I watched the theatre, the play production in London at the Coliseum, which was pretty good. It's definitely not as good as the film, but seeing it in person and it being a theatre production, maybe you might have enjoyed it a little bit more. Who knows?
Possibly. As I was watching it, I could definitely see how a lot of the scenes could translate well into stage production. I've seen enough musicals and plays and stuff like that to kind of know how they... Not to say I know how they would have done these scenes, but there was so much spectacle in the film that I imagine it would have been a quite fun musical. It was not a musical, is it? But it would have been a quite fun show to see done in person.
They do have musical scenes.
Yeah, but the characters aren't singing, are they?
No. It's not. It's not a musical, but there's a few songs. You know, what I really enjoyed about the theatre production was the transitions and the effects. It was like magic. They were doing magic work where they were doing stuff where you're like, how did they do that? How did they transition from that to that and do this and that? And some of it as well, they were treating the audience like, we know that you guys are not dumb. And practically it's like, so in the film you have like frogs, you have other like creatures and stuff. So instead of being like, oh, we're going to try and hide the people doing the puppetry, they just had actors holding the puppets and doing the puppetry in plain view. I was like, okay, that's refreshing, because especially like they had the dirt. We didn't talk about the dirt. So that in the boiler house with
the soot.
The
okay.
soot.
Yeah, Kamachi.
Yeah, so they just had like people operating them, and they even talked. It was, and then like they were moving their mouths, but it wasn't off-putting at all. It was like it just kind of felt normal.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I can see that. I can see that. So, yeah. So some of the things I'd say, like, how did they do? So you're talking about transitions.
Go on, then.
What about the parents turning into pigs?
So what they did was, like in the film, they have them eating the food, and then Chihiro goes off to the side somewhere, looking around. So what they do is they turn the stage around.
Okay, there's like
so
rotating.
They can literally, and then that then transitions to Yokaku saying, "Who are you? You need to go. Blah 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 blah. You shouldn't be here." And he does his little. He even did his magic as well. You know the little.
Yep.
You know that little magic. He even did that as well. That was like awesome. I was watching it. I was like, this is amazing. I was like, whoa. I was like, you know, one of those things where you get the hairs on your chest or hairs on your back of your chest or back of your neck.
Back of your hairs on your chest. Hairs on your chest is when you have a stiff drink.
Whatever.
But it was
you know what I mean.
Hairs on the back of your neck.
It was what I was like. Wow, that is incredible, because they really did reenact every scene on a small little stage. And even the scene where, so basically where you're okay, yeah, your question about how they did the parents, they just had they put like pig mask over their face and like on their hands, and then just had their clothes on and a little bit of a bigger stomach, and then they got whipped by the shopkeeper, and then they fell to the ground. So yeah. And then so basically when she's running around, so when they're running around, Yokaku and Chihiro, they're running around. They basically had doors, and they had people moving the doors, and then they were basically running from stage to stage, and then they flipped the doors around. It was amazing. I was like, yeah, that's great. The other scene where your Baba basically uses her force powers, let's call them force powers, and magic. Magic then. It's like a force pull, where she pulls Chihiro into the room.
Force is a sci-fi term for magic.
Right. She uses magic to pull Chihiro into the room. Into the same. Yeah. So basically, I don't know what she did, but her top went like her top was getting pulled.
Okay, yeah. So
I don't know how. So they must have had something inside her top that she can activate, and it looks like her she's getting pulled, and she basically went put her arms in the air and a bit backwards, and she was like running around again, but different doors and stuff. And the other cool thing is they pulling out the spirit from the bathhouse, the one that is all dirty, and they pulled out the bike and everything. So that was really good, because so we were on the second floor of the theatre, and we're right at the front of it.
Okay, yeah, good.
Row A. So we're right at the front, in the middle, right?
Oh, perfect.
So we're watching it, and basically they pull out all that junk from the spirit. They get the spirit, and to mimic the spirits, they have little poles.
Yeah.
With the spirits on the poles, and they start going around the stage with them on. So basically the spirit and the person operating the spirit, he goes off the stage. Our focus then turns to Chihiro, and at the corner of my eye, I saw this thing coming towards us. And it goes around in the air, and it's the spirit. And they must have had it on a wire or something.
Yeah,
it just went round it, and nearly took my partner's head off, Mavi. Nearly took her head off. And she was like, oh! Like that. She kind of flinched and freaked out, because she didn't see it. I saw it at the corner of my eye, and I started clapping I was... And then they go into a little dance, because they're celebrating that they've got it. They got the spirit out, and they got... And you're like, wow, this, it was just one of those things. It was just the feel factor. They really captured the feel factor of the film, and especially the dread in the first half an hour, where Chihiro's like, oh god, what am I going to do? I'm so scared. And then after that, where you have a big emotional, where you're just oh, we've managed to get this spirit, and we've managed to clean them up. And even the ending part where she wins she completes the quiz. And they start celebrating. They start you're like this. You kind of feel you. It's kind of weird. It's you actually are watching the anime, but it's right in front of you in live action. The only thing I would say to you then, Josh, that would prevent you from watching this production, and this will probably be a big drawback for a lot of people, unfortunately. The cast. Let me tell you this then. One of the original cast members is in the production. Your Baba, but it's the original Japanese voice actress.
Okay, I wondered if you were going to say that.
So the rest of the cast, all Japanese. So you've got subtitles on the left of the theatre. You got subtitles middle top. You've got subtitles on the right. At first, I have to be honest. At first, when I was doing it, my eyes were going a bit like all over the place. I didn't know where to look.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and if you read the subtitles, you're not watching the stage.
Exactly.
I don't know how I would do that.
You have to be very quick. I've seen the films plenty of times.
That's what I was thinking. If you really know the films, it's going to be less of an issue. But if you don't know the films,
if you're going in blind,
if you're going in blind, you have no hope. I mean, going in blind to any musical theatre or play can be difficult.
But one thing I will say though, like compared to, we talked about. I watched Wicked, and there was a point where I think like the Tin Man started shouting some stuff on the balcony, and I could not understand anything he was saying. Everything the audio that was coming through, of course it was Japanese, but it came through quite clearly. So if you are Japanese, don't be.
If you're Japanese, come to London, see the show.
Don't be put off. Like you can quite clearly hear what everyone's saying. It's just the fact that you have to look at the subtitles, but that kind of. When I just got used to it because I realised what I needed to do. If the characters are on the left-hand side of the stage, it's obvious. You look at the left-hand part of the production of the theatre to read the subtitle. If they're in the middle, the middle bit was a bit annoying because you have to look up. So I had to put my head up a little bit and then look down. But then on the right, it made
it easy to follow.
Yeah, and they're quite clear. They're like they're in. I think they were in yellow. Or white, I can't remember. They were very clear to read, but you have to be quick. You have to be kind of quick. It's not like it's impossible. Like I'm not the quickest reader, and I managed to read and watch it at the same time. It's just kind of those things you just get used to. But I do watch a lot of foreign stuff.
If you're used to watching foreign movies and reading subtitles, then you can do it. But if you're not, you might not get your money's worth from the show. How do they do the train scene?
Well, they just had like a miniature train go across the stage.
How do they do the water? Obviously, they didn't flood the water, but they use anything for the water? Flags or something?
In the bathhouse, so they had like had steam, set up like a pipe, and there's steam coming through it, so it was mimicking water.
Well, no, the train is going through the flooded plain in the movie.
They just had No, they did have something. They had like stuff on the ground, if I remember. They put stuff. They had like this see-through stuff that looks like it looks authentic. Like everything, like the special effects and the costumes and the. And
this is the thing: when you go to see a musical or a play, you do have to suspend your disbelief. So, like you said, with the puppeteers, or with the train, they're not going to literally flood the stage. So they might use things like light, fluffy fabrics that are blue in colour to kind of represent the flooded water, and that's fine. But it can be, depending on how they do that,
it's
can
like
be really interesting.
The see-through when she's see-through. So they had like people go around her, and it was quite interesting because it was a bit different to the film. So they had, like people go these like, and they were like had these like these kind of bluey pinky fabric over them, and they put it over her. And then she kind of like dazed in like in the middle all around them. And then she had this fabric on, and she's like, "Oh, I'm see-through. I'm see-through." And then he did his little magic, and she basically has the see-through fabric come off her. So that's where you use you use your imagination of like, I understand what they're saying. I'm with you. I've got it. It's all in my head. Yes, great, fantastic. So it also like. When your Bubba transitions in the film, she like transitions into like a bird. So they have her like, I don't know, she must jump off the stage or something. She jumps off, and then they have your Bubba flying owl going across the stage, and you're like, the transition from that, and then them coming onto like the platform, her little room. So when she's a bird and then she turns into like her normal self, they did that as well, and you're like, it was kind of like They kind of do it in a way where you can see like her stepping onto the stage, but it looks like she's transformed from that creature into her normal self. The special effects and the transitions and the trickery, all very well done.
Yeah, good.
I definitely recommend watching it, but the only drawback is, like I said, is you would have to watch it with the subtitles. And the interesting thing is, I wanted to watch it with my kids, and Eva, she's 5, and because I know she loves the film, but obviously she can read, like she can read this, but she's not, she's not that good of a reader. And I managed to grab a copy of the live version, and I was showing it to her today. We were literally laying there on the bed watching on the TV, and I was reading the subtitles. And it was dinner time, and I was like, come on, Eva, we need to go downstairs for dinner. She's like, no, I want to keep watching. But the thing is, I would have to read it to her. But she was really into it. Her imagination, she knew the film as well, because she's seen it. But she was into it, like, she was on board, and I was reading
really
the
nice.
Subtitles
that's really
for
nice.
her, But I'm not sure if I'm going to do that for the rest of
No.
It's a free, that's another thing. It is a 3-hour theatre.
Sure, yeah. Because it was a 2-hour film, so your usual theatre thing with the interval and everything. Yeah, that kind of not surprising. Was there anything that was super drastically different from the film? Something added or something removed? It was very pure.
Everything that was in the film is in the theatre production.
Okay.
I remember. I think your Baba in the theatre production. She says your dragon boyfriend, which I don't think is in the film, because I've referred to Dragon Boy, but I think in the film he's called Dragon Boy. She calls him Dragon Boy. In the theatre she calls him Dragon Boyfriend. So there's a bit of what's it called? Them coming up with their own little things, I suppose. But it follows the film very accurately.
Okay, that's good.
And it's very surprising. It's like they did the part where she has to hold her breath as well, and they had all the puppets and everything, and even the skirts go up as well from the girls.
Oh yeah, yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah, they did all that. They did everything, man. They did. What else did they do? Oh, they did the flight. That's another thing. So they at the Yokaku and Chihiro, the flying scene at the end. They just had people holding them. They had her on this dragon, and they had 6 people holding this dragon, and they're mimicking it flying. And then Chihiro, the actress who was playing Chihiro, was on one of the performer's shoulders, and then once she said, "Oh, I remember you. You're from the Hakoku River," they kind of took that away then, and then had them held up in the air. So there wasn't any special trickery wires or anything. They just had people holding them in the air and flying around on the stage, but pretending that they're flying. But it was effective. It just worked.
Yeah, sort of like cheerleading or gymnastics or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it doesn't have to be anything special. It's we're in this moment. We understand the transition from her being on a dragon and then her flying. It's you don't really notice that she's actually getting held. It's just very seamless. I think that's what it has going for it.
Yeah, there is a certain magic to stage shows that removes that. Your brain accepts those things.
Yeah. And I don't think it would work as a live action film. I think it works a lot. If I would watch
don't say that out loud. Someone might get ideas.
Well, if anyone's gonna make,
it wouldn't be as good.
It just works better. I think it would work better because I think in a live action film they could make it work, and they can make it it's dead on how the anime is, scene for scene. But then you lose that kind of magic, I suppose. It just feels like
the thing is, cartoons and stage shows are very similar in the way that you can do fantastical things that you can't do with live action. Something about cartoons is that you can do. So things like the transparency film, the transparency scene, that isn't something that you would necessarily... Obviously, you can do transparency in live action, but it's way more serious. And something about cartoons is that you can adjust you can stretch a human body. So you think about Roadrunner, when Roadrunner's legs are animated with circles that spin around really quickly, and then the... I don't know what his name is, but the coyote, he runs into a cliff and he kind of pancakes for a second. You can do that in a cartoon because cartoons are fun and they're silly, or if they're anime, there's something else. But you can do things with cartoons that you can't do with live action film. And musicals are the same way. You can do things because of the suspension of disbelief. You can do things. You can do things as technically flamboyant as you would like. So I went to see Miss Saigon on stage many years ago, and they had a flying helicopter on stage. Basically, it's a helicopter body on a lift of some kind. It doesn't have propellers, but with the sound and the lighting design, doing the propellers, the sound, the wind machine, and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that they know that it's a stage show. No, they're not trying to fool you. But they know that you're expecting it to be a musical. So you've got a suspension of disbelief for a musical, similar that you might have a different, but a suspension of disbelief when you watch a cartoon. But you don't have that for live action. If you watch live action, you expect, for the most part, human bodies to stay in the same shape. You don't expect transparency. You don't expect transmorphing between different animal types. So that, they could do it as a live action movie, but it would be strange in a uncanny valley, not very nice way, I would expect.
Yeah, I don't think I would probably like watching this film, Spirited Away, in live action. I don't think I would enjoy it. Unless, I know you personally don't like watching foreign films and reading the subtitles, but I kind of feel like also that watching this production, having Japanese actors and actresses kind of also helped as well. It was just something about it. It was because it was so foreign.
Yeah, I do understand that. I do get that. Yeah. It's just so hard I've only seen three anime films at the moment. And okay, I've not watched, I tried to watch Howl's Moving Castle with subtitles, but it's one of those things, sometimes I might watch it with subtitles and I'll persist through it, but sometimes I just want to watch the movie, and subtitles are detracting from my enjoyment of the film, and ultimately I'm there to enjoy it, it's not my responsibility, in a sense, to make sure that I'm making sure that the film is true to its origins. I'm not gonna, if a German watches Captain America in German, I'm not going to say they're doing it wrong and they must watch it in English and have their subtitles in German so that they get Chris Evans's performance instead of some translated performance. I'm not going to tell them how to watch their movies, and I'm going to watch the movies in a similar fashion.
Yeah, I wasn't really trying to indicate that. What I was trying to say, as a fear, having the actors and actresses actually be Japanese and them speaking Japanese kind of felt more authentic as well. I know, the anime I've only watched the anime in English, but watching it live in a theatre production where you have someone who, Yokaku, actually look like the person in the anime, because you, like you say, you get a Chris Evans or whoever, Tom Holland. Is it Tom Holland? The guy, Loki.
Spider-Man, yeah.
No, what's his name? What's Loki's name? The guy who plays Loki.
Tom Hiddleston.
Sorry, Tom Hiddleston. I suspect maybe Tom Hiddleston, whatever his name is, would actually be a good Yokaku, because he has the kind of the hairstyle and he has the kind of facial looks, but still, I would still prefer a Japanese actor or actress to play those parts, because it kind of resembles the anime. And then it kind of felt special, them being Japanese and them talking Japanese as well in a weird way, because it's a Japanese film.
Do you think the next time you watch Spirited Away, are you going to watch it in English or are you going to watch a Japanese dub?
That's the thing.
Oh, sorry, are you going to watch the English dub or are you going to watch Japanese with subtitles?
If I'm watching with kids, obviously the English dub. The one thing that Mavi said to me before we watched the film, I wonder if any of the original actresses or actresses are actually in this. I said, Mavi, don't be stupid. They must be 60, 70 years old by now. They're not going to be reprising their roles. And then I look it up later, and one of them, like I said earlier, Yobabu, the Japanese actress, reprised the role, and I look so stupid.
Why would you say that? It's not an old film. It's 2004.
No, 2001, but yeah, still. Yeah, I look stupid. One thing from that, though, is because I've never really watched the Japanese dub, and I've watched this actress give a performance in theatre, now I can go back and say, oh, did she do a good job or not? Because I got the original tape, original dub there that she did. Then I can compare, I suppose. But yeah, that's one thing that's like interesting is like comparing like, and I think there's like I think there's two sets of cast as well. So there's like two people playing Chihiro.
Were they children?
No, they're like fully grown, like 20 or something, probably like 22, 23. But they, you know, like I'm not being offensive by saying this, but like Asian people are kind of smaller, and they're kind of more petite, let's say, than any other kind of, you know, petite is a nice word. Okay, petite. They look after their bodies, let's say that, and they look very like. Of course, they don't look like children, but they have that innocent youthness to them. Let's say smooth skin.
Yeah, and obviously they are made up and dressed. You know, they're aged down.
Yeah,
as such.
Yeah, and they've got the costumes of the characters, especially and the person the actress playing Yubaba, she's heavily in makeup, but her makeup was incredible. You got to look it up online. She literally looks like I'm looking at the person from the anime. Her makeup was incredible.
I mean, in one scene, her entire eyeball was bigger than Chihiro's head.
Oh, that was quite funny as well. We should really say, you know, the parts where Yubaba, she explodes and she's like, yeah. What they did in the production. So she's like she has like a big head in the anime, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Her body's kind of like medium sized, and then her head is like kind of big. But then when she explodes, like getting angry, like sometimes she leaps into the air, or you know, in this theatre production, they pull out this massive big head of her, and they put it like over her. She operates the head. It's kind of like in Wicked and the Wizard of Oz, where they get the what's his name, the scientist guy, and he has that big massive monster thing head, and he starts shouting. So it's kind of like that, but a little bit more downsized. But it was very effective. It was like, okay, I get it. This is showing you that part where she get really angry and she starts shouting, "San!" I love the film, and I think the theatre production lives up to the film. Definitely recommend it if you can put up with subtitles. Unfortunately, I think it's going to run out the end of August.
Yeah, it runs out at the end of August, and tickets are £200 a night, or £200 a ticket.
That's surprising. I only paid like 75. But this was like...
Yes, well, you probably bought them a while ago.
Yeah, I did, yeah. Well, I didn't. It was a present. But, yeah, I was looking up on Reddit, and the production guy, they were like, oh, no, they're not going to be doing any more. That's it for now. I think it could be just BS, but I don't know. They toured
Are they going to tour the world?
Well, they've already done Japan and America, and now they've done the UK. So I don't know if they're going to do anywhere else.
Maybe Australia. Actually, Australia set would be good because they're actually quite close to Japan, obviously physically, but also I don't say culturally, but Australia and Japan, they share a lot of stuff because they can travel between them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was thinking about this on the train. It's like I am quite lucky to watch this because many people in the world. I was like reading online. I was like, I really want to watch this, but it's not available in my country, and I can't afford to travel all the way there and then pay for the tickets and accommodation. For me, it's only like an hour and a half or an hour train journey, and I get to enjoy being in London and chilling out and then going to see the theatre. So yeah, I'm quite lucky, carrying my blessings that I managed to watch it. But yeah, it is a shame. It sounds like, and the other thing is, I feel I'm quite privileged to watch it because it's the original, so it's the first cast, so it's the first run of this production in the UK. I think it's been out in Japan for the last 2 years, and then they went to America. But this is the original cast member, so I suspect probably years from now they're going to bring it back, hopefully. But then they might not be these cast members, they might move on or do some other things. So it's a bit like, like Wicked, where you have the original cast members, and then they've gone off.
I don't want to say the original cast is always the best, but the original cast is always what people want to see. They're the ones that get the albums recorded and so on.
Oh, well, and they've already had it come out on Blu-ray. So this is if you say like 10 years from now, they're still going to be referencing this Blu-ray as the live performance and this cast. So I'm quite privileged that I managed to watch the original cast as well. So yeah, I'm like, yay, I made something that's kind of cool. It's like, if they do bring it back, at least I can say, hey kids, I watched this. I watched the original cast, and I watched the Bubba, the original actress in the Japanese dub. But yeah, I think for me, I really love the film. I love the fact that I can say to my kids, because my kids have watched it, and say, if you don't behave, they're going to turn me into a pig. I joke with them and say, like, you got to be careful, don't be naughty, otherwise they'll come and turn me into a pig. Is that what you want? You want me to be in a pig? Turn into a pig? And then sometimes they're like, yes, and then sometimes they're like, no. I always remember that when I've sat down, especially with Eva. I think the film kind of appeals to a younger, say like a 3 to 4 or 5-year-old, 6-year-old girl than it is to a boy. I think the film.
I suppose maybe it's one of those things. For children, the girls might enjoy it more than the boys will. But I mean, it's I enjoyed it, and I'm certainly not a 3-year-old girl.
Of course not. I think the creator of the film said he made it for his like daughter, or he thought like the girls would appreciate it more. I remember when she first watched that scene with the owl, where Kaku's like, be quiet, watch out, and they got Yababu as like a
right.
You go on.
Something I should have asked like an hour ago.
Sure.
What's going on with that owl sort of thing? I thought that was Yubaba at first, but then it got turned into a tiny little fly that went with the baby to see the twin sister. And whilst that fly was a little fly, Yubaba was still Yubaba. Like, was that Yubaba or was it not Yubaba?
That was not Yubaba. She has like a little. It's like It's kind of like, think of it as like the Wizard of Oz.
It's like a little spy that flies around.
Yeah, the Wizard of Oz with the monkeys. It's her little monkey that flies around.
Did Yubaba turn into an owl as well? Did she transform into a flying bird sort of thing?
The thing is, in the theatre, she does actually.
So because I wasn't sure if I had miswatched, like, I don't want to say misread, but like I was slightly confused because I thought that was Yubaba when it come through. So I was a bit confused by that character.
Yeah, no, you're right. And then in the theatre as well, they have the transition where the baby turns into
a little mouse or something.
Gerbil, and then the little owl thing turns into like a
fly.
Fly, and then they go off with Chihiro.
Yeah, maybe maybe those two characters could have been slightly better differentiated because I was definitely confused for a little while.
Yeah. You know what's quite funny? You know the green num? I forgot what it's called. Like the home. The one that goes around just saying home.
Oh, the three heads.
Yeah. Yep. So in the theater, they had this guy, and he just had pants on, like these red pants, and it was just him going home with these little green. He had them on his hands, and it was so funny because he was just like nearly like just in his pants, and he was going home around the people. For some reason he got a massive laugh. So yeah, but
all right, so good film, good show,
but not as good as Howl's Moving Castle to you.
I don't know if I'm really in a position to kind of start ranking films. I'm just going to watch them. I'm not going to say one's better than the other at the moment.
Okay, but I would say Howl's Moving Castle is a good film, but it is nowhere near the level, the emotions you go through in Spirited Away. Just the emotions alone are worth watching. The fear, the joy, especially, the sadness, like when she's crying her eyes out and she's like, I'm not going to see my parents again, they're pigs, I'm stuck here. My name is not Chihiro anymore, it's Sen, and she's forgotten her name as well. She's crying her eyes out, and you're like, at that point, like, there were times even in the theatre, I was, it might be embarrassing to say, but I was like weeping up a little bit. I was watching it, I was just like, I've seen it so many times. And there's some scenes where you just watch and you're like, and the music, dun, 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 dun.
Thank you for listening to Screen Bytes. Comment on YouTube or follow us in your podcast app of choice.
I don't know, I think it started putting me on mute because I put the little mic up, if you put it above your head, it mutes you. But it wasn't technically muted in Discord.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's how it works.
Nah, sorry about that. Okay. Anyway,
are you using your new headset from work?
yeah, because you said
So
it
why
would be
did
better,
you
and I lost the.
All right,
I can't find the earphones as well. It's annoying. The little
why did you
earphones.
put the microphone up into the mute position, then wonder why I can't hear you?
I don't know. It's just still
You thought
work.
I could hear you through the other microphone. No, it
I
doesn't
think
work because it's muted.
Yeah, no, but I thought, why would it, yeah, okay, it makes sense in a practical sense, like work use, but, there must be a setting where you have to, enable that. Like, if I just want...
No, it's just built into the headphones. It's not a setting in the app, it's just built into the headphones.
It's a design thing. I understand that, but I don't like that design. Like, if I push it up into the, it's going to mute itself, yeah, okay, I understand that, but maybe I just want to... Because I'm using another mic, but it doesn't know that.
But I need to hear you through that mic.
True. That, yeah.
If I was hearing you through your main microphone, that wouldn't be a problem. But I'm listening to you through that microphone, so it needs to be on and near your mouth.
Yeah, it is now. Yeah, definitely is.